I'm hitting record. So welcome to Toca Backstage, everyone. I am honored and pleased to have our guest, Denise Fennell, or Fennell, however is correct. She is playing the sister in Sister's Back to School Catechism, part of the Late Night Catechism series, on October 20th at 2 and 8 p.m. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here. I thought it was funny that when we were setting this up that we realized we had actually met one another in a different situation.
We sure did at APAP.
Yeah, and before that, I think I went to a showcase at a WA, I think it was in Denver. WA is Western Arts Alliance, and you were playing, it was a showcase for Tony and Tina's wedding, and you were Tina. How long had you been doing Tony and Tina's wedding?
Yes. I did Tony and Tina's wedding. I started in Boston. That's where I'm from. And I got cast in that production. And then it was one of my first experiences with theater. And I fell in love with the show. And after it closed, I just called the producer of the off-Broadway show, Joe Corcoran, almost on a daily basis and was like, please, can you put me in the New York Off-Broadway Company? So finally he said yes, and I went to New York. And I played Tina for, my gosh, off and on for almost 10 years. And then that's actually the conference that you're speaking of is where I met Mary Pat Donovan, who is the writer and original sister in Late Night Catechism. And it's a little bit crazy, but that's how I got cast in Late Night Catechism, was at the theater conference.
How funny.
We were hired by the same company. So, and we were walking around the conference together, and the showcase you saw, both of those shows were involved in it. And she just fell in love with my improv skills, and it was shortly after she sent me the script and asked me to do her show. And I, of course, was young and foolish and said no.
Well, I guess that would be a hard choice because both of those roles are so filled with improv, right?
Yeah, both heavy improv, which is my favorite style of theater. I love people, so I love to interact with people, and I'm grateful. I've been part of now some of the longest running off-Broadway interactive shows. But it was great. So I eventually said yes, of course, to Mary Pat, because she's not somebody you can say no to if you've ever met her. And yes. She actually flew me to California and personally trained me as sister, which has been a huge honor. And she's one of my best friends. And we talk before every performance. And I'm hoping that when I'm in California, she'll come out and check me out. Yeah.
I hope so too. I've had the pleasure of working with Mary Pat several times. As a matter of fact, one of the several years ago, we did a Late Night Catechism, and she was, I think it was one of the last times she's done it. I don't think she's still doing it anymore, is she?
She's been working on the Christmas script, and she's thinking about making a little appearance in Laguna for Christmas this season, but she's still actively writing them and working with me on, of course, we update them a little bit every time we do them, just because it's interactive and it involves a lot of things that are currently happening. But I think the last time she performed was right before we launched the Halloween show, which was, I think, like 2 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, she's a very nice lady. And so, silly question, but which do you prefer, sister or Tina?
Well, now sister. I mean, it's funny because after doing Sister for so long, they had relaunched Tony and Tina's wedding in New York, and they had asked me to come back and actually play the mother of the bride, which was really a very cool experience. I worked with this wonderful actress that played my daughter, who played Tina, and I was, what a gift. To be able to pass that along to another actress. And I had a wonderful time, but there's nothing like wearing the habit. I mean, the shows are brilliantly written. The interaction with the audience, it gives you so many lead-ins. It gives you such a great experience on stage, not only as a performer, but getting to know the audience members. So I never get sick of it. And I'm like, I cannot wait to get back on stage. I've just did 6 weeks, and now I haven't performed for 2 weeks. So I'm like, I need it.
Yeah, right.
I need to put my habit on again.
And another silly question: are you Catholic?
Yeah, it's kind of, I think, important with a show like this to have to have some real experiences with Catholicism, because you can really, I draw from a lot of my real life experiences. You'll hear a lot of stories about my family, what it was like to grow up Catholic. So yeah, my grandmother went to mass like 3 or 4 times a day and would occasionally drag me with her. So it really wasn't, you don't really get much of a choice, I think, if you're a young Catholic.
Well, what I found really interesting, the first time I ever went to Late Night Catechism was in a small theater in LA, and I was looking at it to book for the theater I was working at the time, and I took my father-in-law, my wife and I took my father-in-law, who is Jewish, and he loved the show. My mother, who didn't go anyway, loved the show. I really find that it's accessible no matter what religion you are.
100%, 100%. It was so flattering. When I was just in Houston at Stages Theater, I was doing the summer school version. And one of the critics that came, it was a huge part of what she wrote about the show this time, which was so nice to hear, that it's super universal and it's not just about religion. It's about life experiences. And obviously this character has a point of view, and we do use the catechism class as the structure for the play, but it's worldly. It touches upon all religions at this point. I mean, I discuss them all. I discuss the differences. I learn things about other people's belief. And I think the character's sister has evolved into 2018. So there's, it's so much more comical than religion, which I think, but also there's a lot of heartfelt and there's a lot of nostalgia with this show, because there's a lot of touching stones, and it takes you back to a time before Facebook, before the internet, when we had rotary dialed phones, and you were running in the sprinkler outside. And now life has changed a bit, but I think a lot of people connect with this character and the show. And some of it, is it Catholic, and did you kind of have to be there to experience it? Sure, but if you're another faith, it's certainly entertaining to hear about some of the experiences that we had as Catholics.
Well, I also find it's kind of fun to watch. I guess it's just the banter between sister and the audience. I have vivid memories of somebody chewing gum in the audience, and one of the sisters just laying into them, or coming in late was my favorite one. Somebody came in late and didn't know what they were walking into. It's a hoot to watch, and again, I think it's really important to know that it's really not just for Catholics; it's for anybody. And I'm really excited to see you do it, because having seen your Tina, I just can't wait to see what you bring to the show.
Thank you. I was so excited when they chose me. There's a lot of other girls out there, and they're all so wonderfully talented. And, there's certain cities. I love the West Coast, and I love your theater. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue. I had learned about it a little bit from Patricia Kelly, who's doing her show. Yeah, I met her recently at the Eisman Center at Richardson, Texas. She was there speaking right before the symphony did Singing in the Rain. Oh, and wow. What a wonderful person she is. She's like absolutely lovely. And I've been following her show. So when I saw that you guys had booked her, I was like, gosh, I would love to play that theater. And then shortly thereafter, I got the call that you had booked Late Night Catechism. So
great. Well, it's going to be fun. I cannot wait. Yeah. So tell me about.
Well, the Halloween show is really, really spectacular.
Oh, did I lose you? Oh, there we go. Okay, you're back.
Oh, I have you.
Yeah, we had a little glitch there, but you're back.
Okay. Listen, it happens with the internet. It happens.
So you were saying about the Halloween
This
show?
is when you do the interactive moment.
Right.
The Halloween show is super fun. I mean, people are going to, I just did it in Washington State. It was my first one of the season, so I was just getting warmed up. And it's hysterical. It's hysterical. People are going to, I don't want to give too much away because I'd like to lend to some prizes, but let's just say that Halloween is a Catholic holiday. And I'm here to tell everybody.
Yeah, I was kind of, I kind of chuckled when they had a Halloween show because I could just imagine what you and Mary Pat could put together regarding the what I guess the celebration of Halloween. Yeah, so it's going to be fun.
It's going to be super fun.
So, how did you get your start in acting?
Well, truth be told, I just really wanted to be Annie. That was my obsession when I was a little girl. And when everybody would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would say Annie. And like in the sense where I think I really wanted to be Annie. I don't even think I realized that she was a character at that point in a play or a movie. And then from there, I just sort of like, like any kid singing in my bedroom and putting skits on for my family. I did a lot of dancing when I was younger. I just loved to entertain people. And then I never really pursued it professionally until I was 20. And that's when I got my first off-Broadway show. So it happened for me really pretty organically. I think my grandmother had a lot to do with it. But yeah, I always loved theater and I loved performing, but I never studied, let's put it that way, professionally. I wasn't classically trained. I am now because I, of course, went back and did everything I could to succeed in this business, which is totally wild and an incredible ride, a great experience in my life. I love theater. But yeah, I just kind of found my way.
And what was your first show that you did? It wasn't Tony and Tina's, was it?
No, my first show that I did was at the Regal Players in Waltham, Massachusetts. It was 42nd Street. I had originally auditioned for it and I did not get cast. And somebody had hurt their foot and they needed somebody that could tap dance. Now, I really can't sing that well. So they told me to tap hard and sing softly. So that was sort of my first like taste of being on stage as an adult. And then right after that, Tony and Tina's came to Boston, and I was cast in that, which was like.
And do you prefer the structure of a show, or do you prefer the wildness of improv?
Do I still have you?
I'm here. Uh-oh, looks like we're having.
Well, it's interesting. Oh, am I here?
Yeah.
Do I prefer the structure of a script or improv?
Yeah.
I've learned to love both. I recently had done Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe, which was the Jane Wagner and Lily Tomlin piece, famous. That was one of the most intense experiences as an actress. The script is so huge and dynamic, and I played many, many, many characters. And there is no improv in that show. There's no opportunity for improv. And that was, to date, one of my favorite experiences. And I actually got to meet Lily Tomlin recently, which was outrageous. I was at an Emmy party in Los Angeles that she was hosting. And honestly, I just specifically went to see her. And as we were passing through the room, she stopped and introduced myself to her. And I wanted to tell her that I did her play, but I got so nervous. So then she looked at me and we looked at each other for a second, and then she started to walk away. And I just shouted, "Lily, I did your play." And she turned around and she said, "Oh, did you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "The Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "What is your name?" I said, "Denise Fennell." And she said, "Denise, did you do it as a solo piece, or were there multiple people playing my characters?" And I said, I did it as a solo piece. With that, she came over and we spoke for probably 20 minutes about her play, about who my favorite character was, who was the director, were the sound cues great, what did the set look like. And it was, I mean, anything an actress could dream of to discuss with the woman who created and wrote this beautiful piece. If you know it, you
Yeah.
know.
That's amazing. That's like one of those lifetime experiences.
So, yeah, that is to date one of my favorites. Yeah.
And you were in
Truly.
You were in Sheer Madness?
I was in Sheer Madness, another play that I love. That actually started in Boston, but I didn't have any experience with the show in Boston. I knew of it. And then a friend of mine was going to be producing it in New York City. David Gersten, a wonderful publicist. I love him. And he called me up and he said, I'm going to submit you to the casting agency. So the McCorkle casting agency called me and they asked me to come in and audition. At that time, I was doing Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe. And I couldn't pass that project up. So I was unable to actually go into the off-Broadway audition in New York. I was super bummed. And then one night I was in Buffalo playing Sister. My friend David called me on the phone and he said, one of the actresses in the show's uncle has passed. And we don't have a replacement for her. Do you think you could learn the show in 3 days? And I said, and David said, that's not the answer I'm looking for. And he said, do you think you could learn the show in 3 days? So of course I said yes, and I did. I learned the show in 3 days and I got to perform with the New York company at New World Stages Theater. It was amazing. They were all super talented and so nice to welcome me in. And then Houston, Texas, Stages Theater decided to open the show there for 6 weeks. And I got to really, really get into it there with the cast. And it was incredible. Huge success there. So.
And that
I have
show
a feeling.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I have a feeling that I have a feeling that it will play in Houston again.
Oh, yeah. And that show also has a lot of improv in it too, doesn't it?
It's interesting because you would think it does, but the way it's written, it's really a scripted piece. It's very farce, so it appears that we're really improvising, but we're not. I believe there's like over 120 different things that can happen in that play, but they ask you to memorize every single scenario. So even the improvs in that show are scripted. You just don't know. As an actor, it's very improv because the audience basically determines how the show will play out by their questions and who they decide has become the killer that night. So as an actor, you don't really know what script you're performing, but the script is pretty amazing. It's a really well done.
Yeah, I always thought it was improv. I saw it a long time ago in Canada, and it did come off. It was as improv, but that's great.
I did too until I saw the script.
And you're producing or working or writing on a new show that you're hoping to tour out, right? Tell us about that.
Yes, I have a couple projects. When I was working in New York, originally after Tony and Tina's wedding, I was asked to come on board with one of the writers, the original writers, Mark Nasser, to write a show called Birdie's Bachelorette Party, which was an adult version of Tony and Tina's wedding that we set inside of a nightclub. And it's there that I met my partner, Robert Watman, who is an incredible theater producer. He loves theater, and he started a company a few years ago and was writing a play called Channeling the King, which was it's a one-man show about an insurance agent who channels Elvis Presley. And they wanted to make the show interactive, so they brought me in to consult on some of the interaction in the show. And with that, I got to participate as a writer. And then he loved my producing style, so he's like, let's start a production company. And from there, it's been, what a gift, right? As an actor, to find somebody that wants to produce theater with you. So we ran Channeling in New York. It went really well. Then we ran it in Los Angeles. and it went great. And we got a booking agent. That's where we met at APAP. And now we're getting ready to head to Florida with it at the end of January, which is exciting. And then my project for me, which I'm over the moon about, is the Winos, which is going to be a play and a wine tasting. So that one's in development also.
Do you have like specific wineries that you're trying to hook up with, or is it just?
You know, it's interesting. Every step we've taken with this show has revealed something brand new. It's definitely a piece that I'm designing to tour in a very easy way so that I could possibly go into a winery, or I could go into a theater, or I could go into a banquet space. There are several versions, and I think my experience with working with some of the theaters across the country has given me an opportunity to see what some of the spaces look like and to be able to develop shows that can perform within those spaces and material that I think that their audiences would enjoy. So I'm working it out so that if it's a stage piece, there will be a few people sitting on stage with me that can participate in the full tasting of
That would be actually
the wines that we'll be serving during the performance. And then in the lobby, they'll have opportunity to purchase.
I was going to say that would be cool to have it at a winery, because that would give obviously them an opportunity to have something new and different and sell tickets.
And we've also set it up in a way where the types of wines that I'm drinking will stay the same, like a Prosecco, a white, a red, but based on any winery that we're at or any venue that we're at, I can talk about the different wines that we're drinking. So it doesn't have to, there's not a specific brand of wine that I'm working with or type, but we talk about the reds and the whites and how they affect us. And it's really a show about women and friendship. And you learn a lot about wine, but in a very fun way, a very different way than we're used to.
And are you a wine aficionado? I mean, do you enjoy?
I'm working on it. Oh, I have been learning. Yeah. I'm training right now to be a sommelier. That's really? A fancy word for wine guy. Yeah. So I've been learning a lot about tannins and, you know, the legs and body of the wine. So yeah, my plan is to know as much about religion as I know about wine, so that I can approach the show from the same way that I approach it from Late Night Catechism. So that if I do find that there's a wine expert in the audience that wants to discuss wine with me, I'll be able to discuss it in a very educated way, but also be able to bring wine to a wide range of women. Sometimes people feel insecure when they go to wine tastings because it's so uppity. So I want to just go down and give them the basics and get to the real reason why we drink wine, which is sanity.
Right. Well, so big question, which is your favorite, red or white?
Red. Oh, I'm a Montepulciano de Abruzzi. And I also do something within the wine show where I can tell you, based on a few questions of your personality, what wine you should be drinking for your health and well-being. Because it's all about what you put in your body, and wine has a lot of health benefits to it. You know,
when you come to Torrance, we'll have to continue this conversation, and you can tell me what wine I should be drinking.
Oh yeah, I'll bring a whole bunch. Don't worry.
Awesome. Well, we're out of time, but I thank you so much for your time. And again, Late Night Catechism. Is it the back to school or Halloween? How do you like to call the show?
Well, I like to call it the Halloween Catechism, the Holy Ghost and Other Terrifying Tales.
Okay, I like it. So that's October 20th at 2 and 8 p.m. Tickets are still available, so get them while they last. And thank you so much for talking to me, Denise. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you when you come out.
I look forward to coming. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you in Torrance.
Take care. Bye-bye.